The auctioneer's voice cracked across Dry Springs like a whip at noon. Dust hung thick in the Arizona heat, shimmering above the wooden platform where 3 Apache women stood with bound wrists. Hemp rope bit into their skin. The crowd pressed close, jeering, throwing alkali powder that stung their eyes. 20 years bonded service, the auctioneer shouted. $240 owed to Drummond Water Company. Labor contracts, gentlemen, legal and binding. Sam Bridger pushed through the mob, his weathered hands gripping his hat brim. The eldest woman lifted her chin, defiant even in humiliation. Sunlight caught the mark on her wrist, a circle with rays burned into bronze skin. Sam's breath stopped. That symbol, the same one carved on Maria's grave marker. Stop, his voice cut through the noise. I'll cover the debt, all 3. The crowd fell silent. Wallace Drummond stepped down from the boardwalk, boots scraping wood, smile cold as winter stone. You sure about that, Bridger? Sam's hand went to his coat pocket, fingers closing around the leather pouch. $240, near everything he had left after 3 dry years. The crowd pressed closer, their breath sour with whiskey and judgment. Cash money, Sam said. Right now. The auctioneer glanced at Drummond, waiting. The water baron's eyes narrowed, calculating something Sam couldn't read. After a long moment, Drummond nodded. Count it, the auctioneer said. Sam climbed the platform steps. The wood groaned under his boots. He dumped the pouch onto the auction table. Silver dollars spilled across scarred pine, ringing like small bells. The auctioneer's fingers moved quickly, stacking coins. 240. He looked up. Contract transfers to Samuel Bridger. Drummond moved beside Sam, sliding a paper across the table. His fingernails were clean, manicured, city hands that had never held a shovel. Sign here, Drummond said. Standard labor contract. 20 years indentured service. Transferable at death or forfeiture. The word forfeiture stuck in Sam's ear like a burr. What forfeiture? Drummond's smile didn't reach his eyes. Land deed requires witnessed cultivation for improvement claims. You've got 87 days left, Bridger. These women count as labor witnesses if they choose to testify. He tapped the contract clause with one finger. But contracted testimony is complicated. Courts don't always accept it. Sam's jaw tightened. The trap opened beneath him, invisible until now. I'll manage. I'm sure you will. Drummond stepped back. 87 days, clock's ticking. The auctioneer cut the women's ropes. They stumbled forward, wrists raw and bleeding. The youngest couldn't be more than 19, had a gash across her cheek where someone had thrown a rock. The middle one's eyes darted like a cornered animal. The eldest stood straight, that sun circle mark visible even through the dirt on her skin. Sam pulled his horse forward. The women didn't move. Can you walk? He asked. The eldest stared at him. Her eyes were black as creek stones, just as hard. We walk, she said. Her English carried the weight of stone grinding stone. My ranch is 6 miles west. You'll ride if you're hurt? We walk, Sam nodded. He mounted his horse, turned west toward the mesa line. Behind him, the crowd murmured. He heard the word squaw spat like poison, heard laughter. The horse shifted beneath him, sensing his anger. The women followed on foot, barefoot, their steps silent in the dust. The sun dropped toward the horizon, painting the desert in shades of rust and copper. Sam kept his horse to a slow walk. The women stayed 20 paces behind, never closing the distance. He could hear their breathing, steady despite the heat, could smell the mesquite smoke from distant cook fires, the dry sage crushed under his horse's hooves. After an hour, he stopped, pulled his canteen from the saddle and held it out. Water. The eldest shook her head. You need to drink. You drink first. Sam understood. He uncapped the canteen, took a long swallow, then offered it again. The woman took it, drank sparingly, passed it to the others. When the youngest drank, her hands shook. Blood still traced a line down her jaw. What's your name? Sam asked. The eldest corked the canteen, handed it back. Kaya. I'm Sam. She said nothing. The middle one touched Kaya's arm, whispered something in Apache. Kaya's response was short, sharp. The younger one, the wounded one, looked at Sam with something that might have been hope or might have been fear, hard to tell which. They walked on as the light died. The ranch appeared as the last blue faded from the sky, a single-room cabin, a leaning barn, a windmill that hadn't turned in months. The blades hung motionless against the stars. Sam's cattle, what few remained, huddled near the dry creek bed, ribs showing through their hides. The women stopped at the property line, staring. Kaya touched the earth, her fingers pressing into the cracked dirt. She shook her head slowly. No water memory here, she said. Land is dying. I know. Sam dismounted. That's why Drummond wants it. There's an aquifer somewhere beneath. He's got the drilling permits. I've got the deed, for now. Kaya stood, brushing dust from her hands. She looked at the broken windmill, the thin cattle, the cabin with its sagging porch. Her expression didn't change. Why did you buy us? Sam met her eyes. That mark on your wrist? My wife had one like it. Kaya's hand moved instinctively to cover the tattoo. For the first time, something flickered across her face. Surprise, maybe recognition. Your wife is dead? 3 years now. And you live here alone? Yes. Kaya looked at the other two women, then back at Sam. When she spoke, her voice was quieter. You need witnesses for your land. The waterman told you this. That is why you bought us. Sam wanted to deny it, but the truth sat between them like a stone. I need witnesses, but you'll stay only if you choose. That's the difference between me and him. Kaya studied his face for a long moment. In the distance, a coyote called. The sound drifted across the darkening plain, lonely and wild. We will see, she said finally. The women refused the cabin. They took blankets to the barn, settling in the hay like wild things that wouldn't be caged. Sam didn't argue. He built a small fire outside the barn door, set a pot of beans to warm, left it for them. When he checked an hour later, the pot was empty, scraped clean. He lay awake that night in the cabin, listening to the wind test the walls. Somewhere in the barn, one of the women coughed, a wet, rattling sound. The wounded one, probably. He thought about Maria, how she'd taught him to brew willow bark tea for fever, how she'd never told him about the sun circle mark hidden beneath her sleeve. 3 years of marriage, and she'd kept that secret. He wondered what else she'd hidden. Dawn came hard and red. Sam hitched his horse to the wagon, loaded the broken windmill parts he'd been meaning to fix for months. The women emerged from the barn as he worked, faces streaked with hay dust. The youngest, Sina he'd heard them call her, had fresh blood on her makeshift bandage. I'm going to town, Sam said. Land office. You can stay here or come. Your choice. Kaya shook her head. We stay. There's food in the cabin. Coffee. Don't go past the property line. Drummond's men patrol the road. Kaya's eyes narrowed. We are not prisoners. No. But they'll think you are. And they'll treat you like it. He left them standing in the yard, 3 silent figures against the rising sun. The land office smelled of old paper and tobacco. County Clerk Harrison sat behind his desk, spectacles perched on his narrow nose, quill scratching across a ledger. He didn't look up when Sam entered. Need to check my deed, Sam said. Which property? Bridger Ranch, Section 12, Township 4. Harrison's quill stopped. He looked up slowly. You've got until day 90, Bridger. That's 87 days from now. Not much point checking what you already know. I want to see the exact wording. The clerk sighed, stood, moved to the wall of filing cabinets. His fingers traced the labels until he found the right drawer. He pulled out a heavy folder, dropped it on the desk. Dust puffed from the pages. Territorial deed, recorded 1875. Land grant conditional on proved cultivation with witness affidavits. He tapped a clause at the bottom of the page. Says right here, improvements must be demonstrated within 3 years of initial claim, attested by 3 or more witnesses of legal standing. Sam's chest tightened. Legal standing. Freeholders, citizens, property owners. Not women, not Indians, not contracted labor. Harrison closed the folder. That's territorial law, not my doing. The door opened. Drummond walked in, bringing the smell of bay rum and leather. His boots shone despite the dust outside. Morning, Bridger. He nodded to Harrison. Clerk. Mr. Drummond? Harrison's voice carried new respect. Drummond leaned against the desk, casual as Sunday morning. I hear you're checking deed requirements. Smart move. Man should know what he's up against. I've got time, Sam said. 87 days. Drummond picked up the deed folder, leafed through it like he owned it. Question is, do you have witnesses? Real witnesses, not those Apache girls you bought yesterday. He set the folder down. Contracted labor testimony is, well, let's say judges don't look favorably on it, especially when the labor is, he paused, of questionable character. Sam's hands curled into fists. Their character's fine. Is it? Drummond's smile was thin. Town's already talking, Bridger. Man your age, living alone, suddenly brings home 3 young Indian women. People draw conclusions. People can go to hell. Maybe. But judges live in this world, not hell. And when your 90 days are up, I'll be standing right here with my own claim, backed by proper witnesses, proper improvements, proper drilling permits. He straightened, adjusted his coat. Or you could save us both the trouble. I'll buy the deed from you today, $500, more than fair. It's not for sale. Then you'd better find some witnesses. Drummond tipped his hat. Good day, gentlemen. He left. The door swung shut behind him with a solid thud. Harrison went back to his ledger, quill scratching like a rat in the walls. Sam stared at the deed folder. Those Apache women, Harrison said quietly, not looking up. Even if you could get them to testify, even if you wanted to, contracted labor can't speak in territorial court. Not on land matters. That's the law. What if they weren't contracted? They are. You signed the papers yesterday. What if they were family? Harrison's quill stopped. He looked up, spectacles catching the light. Family witnesses are different. Blood kin, marriage kin. That testimony holds weight, but... He gestured at the folder. Your wife's been dead 3 years. Unless you've got children you haven't mentioned, or brothers, or... My wife was Apache. The words fell into the room like stones down a well. Harrison blinked. Maria was Mexican. I saw the registry myself when you two married. Check it again. Bridger, check it. The clerk stared at him for a long moment, then stood. He moved to a different cabinet, pulled out a thicker ledger. Marriage registry, 1875. His finger traced down the entries until he found the right page. He squinted at the faded ink. Maria Luz Santos, he read. Born 1850, Santa Fe Parish. Father, Diego Santos. Mother, Lucia Santos. He looked up. Mexican, both sides. Says so right here. Sam's throat tightened. He'd never seen the registry himself. Maria had handled all the paperwork. Look closer, he said, though doubt crept into his voice now. Below the names. Harrison bent over the page, nose nearly touching the paper. There's nothing else, just the entry, same as all the others. Sam reached for the ledger, but Harrison pulled it back. Can't let you handle registry documents. Rules. Outside, a horse whinnied. Voices rose in the street, angry, sharp. Sam moved to the window. A crowd had gathered near the general store. At the center he saw them, the 3 women. Kaya stood in front, shielding the other 2. A man held a rock in his raised fist. Sam was through the door before Harrison could speak. Sam ran. His boots hammered the boardwalk, the sound echoing off storefronts. The crowd had grown. 20 men, maybe more, circling the women like wolves around wounded deer. Sam shoved through them, smelling sweat and whiskey and rage. Get back, he shouted. The man with the rock, a ranch hand named Cooper, turned. His face was flushed, eyes bright with drink. These your Indians, Bridger? They're under my protection. Your protection? Cooper spat in the dirt. You bring savages to a Christian town, they get what's coming. Kaya's hand gripped Ayana's arm, pulling her close. Cinna pressed against the storefront wall, her bandaged face pale. The general store owner stood in his doorway, arms crossed, watching but not intervening. Sam stepped between Cooper and the women. Drop the rock. Or what? Or I'll break your arm. Cooper's smile faded. He looked at the crowd, seeking support. A few men nodded encouragement. Others shifted uncomfortably, suddenly interested in their boots. Ain't natural, Cooper said. White man keeping Indian women. Everybody knows what that means. Means they work my land. That's all it means. Sure it does, Cooper's grin returned. That's why you got 3 of them, right? 1 for each. Sam's fist caught him in the mouth. The rock fell. Cooper staggered back, blood streaming from his split lip. The crowd roared, half in approval, half in outrage. 2 men grabbed Sam's arms, another swung at his ribs. Sam twisted, taking the blow on his shoulder, driving his boot into the man's knee. Someone hit him from behind. His vision flashed white. Then a voice cut through the chaos. Enough! Father Miguel Santos pushed through the crowd, his black cassock dusty from the road. He was 65, rail-thin, with hands like knotted rope. When he spoke, men listened. This is God's day, the priest said, and you shame it with violence. Cooper wiped blood from his mouth. Father, these women, are under Mr. Bridger's care, as is his right. Miguel's eyes swept the crowd. Or do we abandon property law now? Abandon Christian charity? He looked directly at the store owner. James, will you serve them? The owner shifted. Father, I got other customers to think about. You have a soul to think about. I suggest you remember it. The store owner's face reddened, but he stepped back inside. Through the window, Sam saw him gesture. Not welcome, but not refusal either. Miguel turned to Sam. Take them. Go. Sam nodded. He moved to Kaya, his ribs screaming where he'd been hit. Come on. Kaya's eyes moved from the priest to Sam to the crowd. She said something low in Apache. Ayana responded. After a moment, Kaya nodded. They walked through the parted crowd, Sam leading, the women behind, Father Miguel following. No one threw anything else. But Sam heard the whispers start as soon as they passed. Indian lover, gone native, worse than his wife. At the wagon, Miguel touched Sam's arm. Wait. The priest went to his horse, returned with a cloth-wrapped bundle. He handed it to Sam. The weight felt familiar, wood, old, and smooth. Maria's things, Miguel said quietly. I kept them after she passed. Thought you might want them back now. Sam unwrapped the cloth. Inside was a willow branch, forked at one end, worn smooth by hands. A divining rod. He'd seen Maria use it once, the day they'd found the well site. She'd walked the land at dawn, the rod trembling in her grip until it dipped hard toward the earth. He'd thought it was luck. Now he saw the Apache pattern carved into the wood beneath the grip, faint, almost invisible, but there. A sun circle with rays. She asked me to keep her name secret, Miguel said. But that mark, he glanced at Kaya's wrist, changes things, doesn't it? Sam's throat tightened. You knew? I married you both. I heard her confession. The priest's voice dropped lower. She was baptized Maria Luz Santos, but she was born with another name, an Apache name. What name? Miguel shook his head. Not mine to tell, but if you need proof, the registry has it. Volume 9, year 1853, dual entries for mixed heritage. The territorial clerk would have to look deeper than the main page. Kaya stepped closer, staring at the divining rod. Her face had gone still as stone. Where did she get this? Her voice was barely audible. It was her mother's, Miguel said, or so she told me. Kaya reached out slowly, her finger tracing the carved pattern. Talanashoba, she whispered. My grandmother's sister. She looked up at Sam, and for the first time, her eyes held something other than distrust. Your wife was Sun Clan. The words hung in the hot air. Miguel made the sign of the cross. I've said too much already, but Sam, the priest gripped his shoulder. 87 days isn't long. If you're going to fight Drummond, you'll need more than this. He pressed a small iron key into Sam's palm. Land office, back door, Harrison leaves at sunset. He turned away, then stopped. And Sam, those women, they're not property. Whatever you do next, remember that. The priest mounted his horse and rode north toward the church, dust rising behind him. Sam stood holding the divining rod, feeling its weight. Kaya watched him, her face unreadable. Ayana whispered something. Sina touched her bandaged cheek, wincing. Get in the wagon, Sam said. Kaya didn't move. That rod, if it found water once, it can find it again. Maybe. Not maybe. Certain. She held out her hand. I need to see the land. All of it. Before dark. Sam handed her the rod. Their fingers touched briefly, hers warm, scarred, alive with purpose. Why? He asked. Because the waterman is right about one thing. Your 87 days are running out, and Deadland has no witnesses. They rode in silence back to the ranch, the sun climbing toward its brutal peak. Sam's ribs ached where Cooper's friend had caught him. His knuckles were split, blood dried black in the creases. Kaya sat beside him on the wagon bench, the divining rod across her lap. Ayana and Sina huddled in the back, their eyes scanning the horizon like prey animals watching for predators. When they reached the property line, Kaya stood in the moving wagon. Sam pulled the reins. What are you doing? Listening. She closed her eyes. The wind moved through the mesquite, carrying the smell of dust and dying grass. After a long moment, she opened her eyes and pointed northwest. There. 200 paces past the broken windmill. The water sleeps deep, but it's there. How do you know? My grandmother taught me. Her mother taught her. White men drill where they think water should be. We listen to where it wants to rise. Sam studied the land she'd indicated. Looked like every other patch of dirt on his property, cracked, barren, forgotten by rain. If you're wrong, I'm not wrong. Kaya stepped down from the wagon before it fully stopped. She walked toward the spot, rod held loosely in both hands. Sam followed, the women trailing behind. Kaya moved slowly, her bare feet silent on the hard earth. The rod began to tremble. She adjusted her grip, whispering something in Apache, a prayer or a charm. Sam couldn't tell. The trembling grew stronger. 50 paces from the windmill, the rod dipped violently toward the ground. Kaya stopped, pressed her hand flat against the earth. Here, she said. 15 feet down, maybe 20. Sam knelt beside her, touched the same spot. Felt nothing but heat and stone. It'll take a week to dig that deep, maybe more. Then we start now. Drummond controls the drilling permits. If I try to sink a well without one, then don't drill, dig. Kaya looked at him. You have shovels? In the barn? Then bring them. And water. We'll need water. Sam stood, looked at Ayanna and Sina. They stared back, exhausted, half-starved, beaten by the town and the journey and everything that came before. But when Kaya spoke to them in Apache, they both nodded. You don't have to do this, Sam said. Kaya's eyes hardened. The waterman said you need witnesses. Witnesses need proof. Dead land proves nothing. She hefted the divining rod. We dig. They worked through the afternoon. Sam brought shovels, pickaxes, a bucket for the dirt. Kaya marked a circle 8 feet across, and they began. The earth was hard as iron for the first 2 feet, then gave way to softer clay. Sam's shoulders burned, sweat soaked through his shirt, stinging the scrapes on his back. The women worked in shifts, 2 digging while 1 rested. None of them complained. By sunset, they'd gone down 5 feet. No water, just more clay, darker now, smelling of ancient things buried and forgotten. Sam climbed out of the hole, muscles screaming. We'll start again at first light. Kaya nodded. Her hands were blistered raw, but she didn't mention it. Ayanna had torn her shirt for rags to wrap around Sina's reopened wound. They looked like ghosts in the failing light, covered in dirt, bone-tired, but somehow more alive than they'd been on that auction platform. Sam was heating beans on the cabin stove when he heard the horses. 3 riders came up the road, their silhouettes black against the purple sky. Sam recognized the lead horse before he saw the man, Drummond's bay gelding, the one that cost more than most men made in a year. Sam stepped onto the porch, touched the rifle leaning beside the door, then thought better of it. His hands stayed at his sides. Drummond dismounted, brushed dust from his coat. His 2 men stayed in their saddles, hired guns by the look of them. One had a scar running from eyebrow to jaw. The other wore his pistol low and tied down. Evening, Bridger. Drummond's voice was friendly as a snake. Heard you had some trouble in town today. Nothing I couldn't handle. Cooper's got a broken jaw. Says you sucker punched him. He'll heal. Drummond smiled. That's generous of you. Me, I'm a generous man too. He pulled a roll of bills from his coat. $1,500. 3 times what you paid for those women. I'll take them off your hands tonight, sign a release paper, and we'll forget the whole mess. They're not for sale. Everything's for sale, Bridger. Just a matter of price. Drummond's eyes drifted to the fresh excavation by the windmill. Digging a well? Without a permit? Digging a hole. That's not illegal. Depends on why you're digging it. Drummond walked closer, boots crunching gravel. See, I own the water rights to this whole section. Exclusive drilling permits purchased from the territory 2 years back. You can't sink a well, permitted or not, without my approval. And I don't approve. Sam's jaw tightened. I'm not drilling. I'm digging on my own land. And if you find water, then it's my water. That's not how the law sees it. Drummond stopped at the porch steps. You've got 86 days to prove cultivation. No water means no cultivation. No cultivation means I file for abandonment. Judge Hardesty owes me 3 favors. Your deed won't last a day in his court. The cabin door opened. Kaya stepped out, her silhouette framed by lamplight. She didn't speak, just stood there, the divining rod in her hand. Drummond's smile faded. You teaching them your wife's tricks? Maria knew things your drillers never will. Maria's dead, and her Indian magic died with her. Drummond turned back to his horse. You've got 1 day to accept my offer. After that, the price drops to $500. After that, he mounted, adjusted his hat. After that, I'll just wait 86 days and take it all for taxes. The 3 riders turned and left. hoofbeats fading into the dark. Sam stood on the porch, fists clenched, watching them disappear. Kaya moved beside him. "He's afraid," she said quietly. "Afraid of what?" "He's got the permits, the judge, the law." "Afraid of what we'll find," she held up the divining rod. "Afraid this works." 3 days later, they hit water. It came at dawn. On the third day, 15 feet down, just as Kaya had said. Sam was in the hole, pickaxe raised, when the iron tip broke through rock and cold water gushed up, soaking his boots. He shouted. The women scrambled to the edge, peering down. "Water!" Ayana's voice cracked with something that might have been joy. They pulled Sam out, all of them laughing. Actual laughter, the first he'd heard from any of them. The water rose quickly, filling the bottom 2 feet of the hole. Sam knelt at the edge, cupped his hands, brought it to his lips. It tasted of iron and earth and life. Kaya performed a ritual he didn't understand. Words in Apache, hands raised to the rising sun, the divining rod planted in the mud like a grave marker. Father Miguel appeared on horseback just as she finished, as if summoned by prayer. "You found it," the priest said, dismounting. "Kaya found it." Miguel approached the well, made the sign of the cross. "Water in the desert, God's gift or the earth's secret? Does it matter?" He looked at Sam. "This changes things. Witnessed improvement. I saw it. I can testify." "Will the court accept a priest's word?" "Better than most." Miguel pulled a small journal from his cassock. "I keep records, dates, events, witnesses. This will go in today's entry." He glanced at Kaya, along with who found it. Sam stood, every muscle aching but something in his chest loosening for the first time in days. "We'll need to build a pump, a trough for the cattle, irrigation channels." A rifle shot cracked across the valley. The bullet hit the dirt 3 feet from Sam's boot. All of them dropped, scrambling for cover. Sam grabbed his rifle from the wagon, scanning the ridge. 4 riders lined the horizon. Even at this distance, he recognized Drummond's bay horse. One of the men held a rifle, barrel still smoking. Drummond's voice carried across the distance, amplified by the morning stillness. "That's my water, Bridger. You touch it again, next shot won't miss." Father Miguel pressed himself against the wagon wheel. "Sweet, merciful God." Kaya crawled to Sam's side, her face hard as the desert stone. "This is what you bought us for. This fight." "No, I bought you because—" He stopped, looked at her, at the water rising in the hole they'd dug together, at the dividing line between his truth and his need. Maybe it was both. "Then we fight?" Sam looked at the riders on the ridge, at the rifle in his hands, at the water, their water, his water, maybe nobody's water except the earth's, gleaming in the new light. He thought of Maria, thought of 86 days, thought of Drummond's 3 favors from Judge Hardesty and contracts and permits and all the paper laws that didn't mean a damn thing when you were dying of thirst. "Yeah," he said, "we fight." The riders on the ridge didn't move. The standoff hung in the air like heat shimmer, waiting for someone to blink. The riders stayed on the ridge until noon, then vanished like heat ghosts. Sam didn't trust it. He posted watch through the night, 2 hours each, him and the women rotating. Kaya took first shift, sitting on the porch with Sam's rifle across her knees. She handled it like she knew what it was for. Morning brought Esther Caldwell. The widow drove her wagon up the road just after sunrise, a crate of supplies rattling in the back. She was 52, gray-haired, built like a fence post, all wire and gristle. Her husband had died in a mine collapse 10 years back. Since then, she'd run the general store alone and took no nonsense from anyone. She pulled up to the cabin, set the brake. "Heard you struck water. News travels fast. In a town this size, faster than plague." She climbed down, dusted her skirts. "Also heard Drummond's making threats. Also heard James Baker refused to sell you supplies yesterday." She gestured to the crate. "Flour, coffee, salt pork, carbolic for wounds. Consider it a loan." Sam's throat tightened. "Esther, you don't have to—" "I know I don't have to. I'm doing it anyway." She looked past him to where the women stood by the well, watching. "Town's talking ugly about you and them. Figure you need friends more than you need pride right now. Drummond will come after you for this. Drummond's been trying to buy my store for 3 years. I've told him no 300 times. One more won't make a difference." She pulled a thick book from under the wagon seat, leather-bound, pages warped with age. "This might, though." Sam took the book, Territorial Law Compendium, 1874 edition. "What am I looking for?" Page 217, Witness Requirements for Land Improvement. Esther's eyes were sharp as tack points. Contracted labor testimony doesn't hold weight, but there's an exception. Family witnesses, blood or marriage kin, can testify regardless of contract status, even if they're Indian, even if they're women. Sam felt something shift in his chest. Family. That's the word. Now, your wife's been dead 3 years, so direct marriage kin won't work. But if you could prove these women were related to Maria... She let the sentence hang. Father Miguel said Maria had another name, an Apache name. Then you'd better find it. Esther glanced at the ridge where Drummond's men had stood. You've got 85 days. I'd move faster than that. She climbed back into her wagon. Sam carried the crate to the porch, set it down carefully. When he turned back, Esther was watching the women again. That one with the tattoo, she found the water? Yes. Then she's worth more than Drummond's entire crew of drillers. Esther took up the reins. You keep her alive, Sam, and yourself too. This valley needs men who remember what a handshake used to mean. She drove off, wagon creaking. Sam stood holding the law book, feeling its weight. That evening, he showed the book to Kaya. They sat at the table inside the cabin. First time the women had come inside willingly, Ayana and Sina stayed close to the door, ready to bolt, but Kaya pulled up a chair, leaned over the open page. What does it say? Sam read aloud. Witnesses to land improvement must be of legal standing, freeholders, citizens, or recognized kin of the claimant. In cases of marriage kin, relationship must be demonstrated through registered documentation or sworn testimony of authorized clergy. Kaya's finger traced the words she couldn't read. What is marriage kin? Family by marriage. If you were related to Maria and I was married to Maria, that makes you my family, by law. Kaya sat back. Her face showed nothing, but her hand moved to the sun's circle tattoo on her wrist, thumb rubbing the raised scar. Talanashoba was my grandmother's sister. Your wife carried that name. That means she was Sun Clan. She paused. That means you are clan brother, by our law. Will your law convince a territorial judge? Will his law give you water? Sam smiled despite himself. Fair point. Sina whispered something to Ayana. Ayana responded, then looked at Sam. She asks why you are helping. You could sell us to the waterman, take his money, leave this place. And go where? Somewhere easier. Sam closed the book. Outside, the windmill groaned. He'd finally fixed it that afternoon using parts bought with Esther's credit. The blades turned slowly, pumping water from the well they'd dug together. This land isn't easy, never has been, but it's mine, and I'm tired of running from hard things. He looked at Kaya. Your grandmother's sister, Talanashoba, she had a daughter? Yes, she married a Mexican trader named Santos. The priest baptized her Maria Luz Santos, but her Apache name... Kaya's voice softened. Her Apache name was Morning Rain. The words fell into the quiet room like stones into still water. Sam remembered Maria standing in their doorway 3 years ago, dying from childbirth fever, whispering something he couldn't understand. He'd thought it was delirium. Now he wondered if it had been her real name, spoken at the end when pretending didn't matter anymore. The registry, he said. Father Miguel said there's a dual entry, Volume 9, year 1853. Then we find it. It's in the land office, locked up. Harrison won't let me see it without cause. Kaya reached across the table. Her scarred hand covered his. Then we give him cause. Her eyes held something new, not trust yet, but its shadow. The waterman thinks we are weak, thinks women and Indians have no power in his courts. Maybe he's right. She squeezed his hand once, then released it. Or maybe the law has cracks we can slip through. Outside, the windmill sang its rusty song. The cattle lowed, drawn by the smell of water after so many dry months. In the distance, a coyote called, and another answered. Sam looked at the three women, Kaya with her warrior's face, Ayana with her quick hands, Sina with her wounded smile. They'd been property 3 days ago. Now they were something else. Something Drummond hadn't counted on. Partners, maybe. Or witnesses, or family, if the law could be bent to see what blood already knew. 85 days, Sam said. Then we start tomorrow, Kaya replied. The lamplight flickered. Shadows moved on the walls, and for the first time since Maria died, Sam Bridger didn't feel alone in his own house. The town turned against him slowly, then all at once. First it was the blacksmith who refused to shoe Sam's horse, Then the feed store clerk who suddenly had no grain to sell. By the end of the week, even the saloon keeper wouldn't serve him water. Sam heard the whispers everywhere he went. Indian lover, gone native like his dead squaw wife. Drummond's hand was in it, sure as sunrise. The water baron held debts all over Dry Springs. Mortgages, loans, favors owed. He collected them now, like a man calling in chips at a poker table. Father Miguel rode out on the 8th day, his face drawn. The bishop sent a letter, he said. They stood by the well, watching Ayana teach Senna how to work the new pump. He's received complaints about me associating with you, with them. Miguel's voice was bitter. I've been told to maintain proper distance for the good of the parish. They threatened you. Drummond donated $500 to the church roof fund. The bishop was very grateful. The priest pulled something from his cassock, a small iron key. I can't be seen helping you anymore. But the land office backdoor sticks. Harrison leaves at sunset every evening. He's a creature of habit. Sam took the key. This could cost you your church. My church is wherever God's mercy is needed. Right now, that's here. Miguel gripped Sam's shoulder. Volume 9, Year 1853, Maria's entry. You'll need it for the tribunal. He paused. There will be a tribunal, Sam. Drummond's already filed preliminary papers. Day 90, Judge Hardesty will hear the land claim dispute. You'll need every scrap of evidence you can find. How long have I got? 81 days. Miguel mounted his horse. Make them count. That night, Sam and Kaya rode to town. They left Ayana and Sina at the ranch with the rifle and strict orders. Anyone comes, you hide. Don't try to fight. The land office sat dark and empty, its windows reflecting moonlight. Sam dismounted 2 blocks away, tied his horse in an alley. Kaya moved beside him, silent as smoke. You don't have to come, he said. Your eyes are old, mine are not. She touched the knife at her belt, a skinning blade she'd found in the barn, sharpened to razor edge. And if the waterman's people come, you'll need more than prayers. They circled to the back. The door's lock was rusty, protesting the key. Sam worked it slowly, feeling the tumblers catch and release. When the bolt slid back, the sound seemed loud as gunfire. Inside, the office smelled of dust and old ink. Moonlight through the windows cast everything in shades of gray. The registry cabinets lined the far wall, 30 years of territorial records locked behind glass and wood. Kaya found a lamp, kept the wick low. Sam moved to the cabinets, reading labels. Volume 9 would be near the bottom. Oldest records, least used. He found it in the 3rd cabinet, a leather-bound ledger, thick as his fist. He laid it on Harrison's desk, pages crackling as he turned them. Birth records, death records, marriage entries. The ink had faded to brown, some entries barely legible. He reached 1853, found the Santos family. Diego Santos, married to Lucia Santos, née Montoya, daughter. Maria Luz Santos, born April 12, 1850. Standard entry. Nothing unusual. Sam's heart sank. Look there. Kaya pointed to the bottom of the page. Below the main entry, in different ink, smaller, squeezed into the margin. Another line, also recorded, Morning Rain, Talana Sun Clan, daughter of Waterbird and Diego Santos, traitor. Baptized Maria Luz Santos per territorial requirement. Sam's breath caught. There it was, proof that Maria had been Apache, that her mother, Waterbird, had been Sun Clan, the same clan as Kaya. Can you read it? Kaya asked. Yes. What does it prove? That you and Maria were kin. That makes you my kin, by marriage law. Sam traced the faded words. That makes your testimony valid in court. Kaya leaned closer, her shoulder touching his. In the lamplight, her face looked younger, almost hopeful. The waterman cannot fight this. He can try, but the law is the law. Even Judge Hardesty can't ignore registry records. Footsteps on the boardwalk outside. Sam froze. Kaya's hand went to her knife. The footsteps came closer, then stopped at the front door. A key rattled in the lock. Harrison, Sam whispered. He must have forgotten something. They had seconds. Sam closed the ledger, shoved it back into the cabinet. Kaya doused the lamp. Darkness swallowed them. The front door opened. Harrison's voice. I swear I left it right here. Another voice, smooth and familiar. Take your time, clerk. I'm in no hurry. Drummond. Sam's blood went cold. Kaya touched his arm, pointed to the back door. They moved slowly, testing each footstep. The floorboards creaked like old bones. What was that? Harrison said. Rats. Drummond's boots crossed the floor. You've got rats, Harrison. Might want to set some traps. They reached the back door. Sam's hand closed on the knob. Kaya slipped through first, silent as shadow. Sam followed, easing the door shut behind him. He locked it with trembling fingers, pocketed the key. They walked quickly through the alley, not running. Running would draw attention until they reached the horses. Only then did Sam let himself breathe. "Did you see enough?" Kaya asked. "Enough to know we're right." Sam mounted. "But Drummond being there? That's not coincidence. He knows we're looking." "Let him know." Kaya swung onto her horse. She'd learned to ride in the past week, natural as breathing. "We found what we needed. The paper with your wife's true name. Now we use it." They rode back toward the ranch, the town falling away behind them. Above, the stars burned cold and infinite. Sam thought about Maria, about secrets kept and truths buried, about how the dead sometimes spoke louder than the living if you knew where to listen. Behind them, a lamp flared to life in the land office window. In its glow, Sam saw Drummond's silhouette, standing motionless, watching the road. The water baron knew the trap was closing, and they had 81 days to spring it from the inside. 3 weeks passed in tense silence. Sam filed the necessary papers: petition for tribunal, witness list, land improvement documentation. Harrison accepted them with a clerk's neutral face, stamped them, filed them away. But his eyes held a warning Sam couldn't quite read. The water kept flowing. They built a trough for the cattle, dug irrigation channels toward the southern pasture where Sam planned to plant winter wheat. The land began to remember what it had been. Green things pushing through cracked earth, tentative but alive. The women changed too. Sina's wound healed, leaving a scar like a question mark on her cheek. Ayana learned to rope cattle, her throws getting cleaner each day. And Kaya walked the land at dawn and dusk, the divining rod in her hands, mapping invisible rivers beneath the desert floor. She found 2 more aquifer points, drew them in the dirt outside the barn. Sam stared at the crude map, seeing possibility where there'd been only dust. "You could sell this knowledge," he said. "Every rancher in the territory would pay." "Knowledge isn't for selling." Kaya erased the map with her boot. "It's for keeping alive." On the 23rd day, Sam told them about the cavalry. They sat around the cabin table. A real meal, beans and cornbread, coffee that didn't taste like boiled leather. The women ate like they were still learning it was allowed. Sam waited until they'd finished, then spoke. "Before I met Maria, I rode with the 4th Cavalry, 1873. We were ordered to clear Canyon de Chelly, reports of Apache raiders stealing cattle." He stared at his empty plate. "When we got there, it wasn't raiders. It was families. Old men, women, children. They had cattle. Sure, cattle they'd traded for legally. But our captain didn't care about legal." Kaya's hand stopped halfway to her cup. "We burned the village. 23 lodges. Killed anyone who fought back." Sam's voice went flat, reciting facts he'd tried to forget. "I didn't pull the trigger, but I didn't stop it either. I just stood there." Ayana whispered something in Apache. Sina's eyes were wide, frightened. "Afterward, I was wounded. Got separated from the unit, took an arrow in the shoulder. I thought I'd die there, bleeding out in the sand." He looked at Kaya. "A woman found me. Apache woman. She had the sun circle mark on her wrist. She pulled the arrow, packed the wound with herbs, gave me water, said something I didn't understand. Then she left me by the trail where my unit could find me." "What did she say?" Kaya's voice was barely audible. "I don't know. I was half dead, fever mad. But I heard it again 3 years later when Maria was dying. Same words, same rhythm." He met Kaya's eyes. "I think it was a blessing, or a curse, maybe both." Kaya stood abruptly, chair scraping. She walked to the door, stood there with her back to them all. Her shoulders were rigid, her breathing controlled. "The woman who saved you, what happened to her?" "I don't know. I never saw her again." "You never looked?" "No." Kaya turned. Her face was stone, but her eyes burned. "The village you burned, that was my people. My grandmother died in that fire, my uncle, my 3 cousins." She touched her wrist, the tattoo. "The woman who saved you was my mother." The room went silent. Even the wind outside seemed to stop. Sam felt the world tilt. "Kaya, you killed my people." Her voice shook. "Then you married one of us, kept her Apache name secret, let her die pretending to be Mexican." She stepped closer. "Now, you ask us to save your land, to be your witnesses, to be your family. I'm not asking you to forgive. Good, because I don't." She stared at him, and Sam saw everything in her face: grief, rage, and something worse than hate: exhaustion. But my mother saved your life. She chose that. And Maria married you. She chose that too. Kaya's hands clenched. So I choose this. Not for you, for them, because they saw something worth keeping, and I won't betray their judgment. She walked out. The door slammed. Ayana and Cinna sat frozen, staring at Sam like he'd become something dangerous. Go, Sam said quietly. Go with her. They went. Sam sat alone in the cabin, listening to his own breathing. Outside, he heard Kaya's voice, low and sharp, speaking rapid Apache. Heard Ayana's softer responses. Heard Cinna crying. He'd known this moment would come. Known the debt he carried would come due. But knowing and facing were different animals. He thought about Maria's last words. Thought about that woman in the burned village, risking everything to save an enemy. Thought about mercy as a long game. Played across years and miles in unmarked graves. The sun set, the stars came out, Sam didn't light the lamp. Before dawn, Kaya returned. She entered without knocking, found Sam still sitting at the table in the dark. She lit the lamp, poured 2 cups of coffee from the pot he'd kept warm all night, set one in front of him. Tomorrow, we perform the water ceremony, she said. The full ritual, not the quick version I showed you before. Sam looked up. Why? Because in 80 days, you go before a judge. You'll need proof of cultivation, proof of improvement, proof we're more than contracted labor. She sat across from him. The ceremony is sacred. White men don't see it ever. But Father Miguel can witness it. He can testify that we performed our people's ritual on your land. That makes the bond real, by our law and yours. You don't have to do this. I know. She sipped her coffee. My mother saved you because that's what Sun Clan does. We save what can be saved, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. Her eyes met his. You're a broken thing, Sam Bridger. But broken things can be mended. Maria believed that, so did my mother. I won't dishonor their belief. Sam's throat tightened. What do you need for the ceremony? Dawn, the divining rod, water from the well we found together, and witnesses, Father Miguel, the widow Esther, anyone who will testify we did this freely. She paused. Drummond will hear about it. He'll try to stop it. Let him try, Kaya almost smiled. That's what I thought you'd say. They sat in the lamplight, drinking coffee. 2 people bound by blood and debt and something neither had words for. Outside, the windmill creaked its eternal rhythm, pumping water from deep earth into the thirsty land above. At dawn, they began. Father Miguel arrived first, his cassock dusty from the ride. Esther came next, her wagon loaded with witnesses. 3 ranch hands who'd been fired by Drummond for refusing to spy, a Mexican family whose water Drummond had cut off, a Navajo trader who remembered Maria. Kaya marked the ground with white clay, a circle around the well, the sun symbol at its 4 quarters. She sang in Apache, her voice rising with the light. Ayana and Cinna joined her, 3 voices in harmony older than any law written on paper. Sam held the divining rod. Kaya placed her hands over his. Together they walked the circle, and the rod trembled, singing its hidden song of water and earth and things that endure. When the sun cleared the horizon, Kaya poured water from the well into a clay bowl, passed it to Sam. He drank, then passed it to her. She drank, then passed it to the witnesses. Each person drank from the same bowl, white, Mexican, Apache, all of them sharing water drawn from contested ground. This is our testimony, Kaya said in English, loud enough for everyone to hear. This land lives because we made it live. This water flows because we found it together. We are witnesses. We are family, and no paper law can unmake what ceremony has made. Father Miguel raised his hands in blessing. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, and in the name of the earth that gives water, I witness this bond. The ceremony ended. The witnesses stayed for coffee and bread, but as they prepared to leave, riders appeared on the ridge. 6 of them this time, Drummond in the lead. They didn't approach, just sat their horses against the morning sky, watching, waiting. Kaya stood beside Sam, her hand resting on the knife at her belt. 80 days, she said. 80 days, Sam agreed. The riders stayed until noon, then vanished like smoke. But everyone knew they'd be back. The tribunal was set for day 90 at 10 o'clock in the morning. Judge Hardesty would preside, with County Clerk Harrison serving as recorder. The land office had been cleared of its usual business, chairs arranged in rows like a makeshift courtroom. By 9:30, every seat was filled. Sam arrived early with Kaya, Ayana, and Cinna. They wore their best, which wasn't much. Sam had brushed his coat, cleaned his boots. The women wore dresses Esther had donated, simple cotton that hung loose on their thin frames, but they walked with their heads high, and that counted for something. Drummond sat at the front table with his lawyer, a sharp-faced man named Gaines who'd come down from Tucson. They had folders stacked like ammunition, documents prepared for every argument. Drummond wore a new suit, watch chain gleaming. He nodded to Sam as they entered, polite as church. Father Miguel sat in the back row, his hands folded in prayer. Esther was there too, along with the witnesses from the ceremony. But most of the crowd had come to watch Sam lose. The town wanted this settled, wanted the uncomfortable question of Apache women and white ranchers resolved in Drummond's favor so life could return to normal. Judge Hardesty entered at 10 sharp. He was 70, white-bearded, with eyes that had seen every kind of lie and stopped caring about most of them. He took his seat behind Harrison's desk, gavelled once. Territorial land dispute, Wallace Drummond, petitioner, versus Samuel Bridger, deed holder. Mr. Gaines, you may present. Gaines stood, smoothed his vest. Your Honor, this is a simple matter of law. Mr. Bridger holds a conditional deed requiring proved cultivation within 3 years. That period expires today. He has failed to provide adequate witness testimony of legal standing. His so-called witnesses are contracted Apache laborers, specifically excluded from testimony under Territorial Statute 47, Section 12. He opened a folder, pulled out papers. Furthermore, Mr. Bridger has illegally accessed underground water without proper drilling permits. My client, Mr. Drummond, holds exclusive water rights to this section, purchased legally in 1876. Any well dug, without his authorization, is theft of resource. We ask the court to void Mr. Bridger's deed and award the property to Mr. Drummond in satisfaction of water rights violations and unpaid improvement taxes. Gaines sat. The crowd murmured. Sam felt Kaya's hand brush his under the table. Brief contact, steadying. Judge Hardesty looked at Sam. Mr. Bridger, you got a lawyer? No, sir, just me. Then you'd best speak for yourself. Sam stood. His knees felt loose, but his voice came out steady. Your Honor, I've held that deed for 3 years. I've paid every tax, every assessment. I've worked that land through drought and desperation. 3 weeks ago, we found water, not by drilling, but by digging, by hand, by knowledge older than any permit Mr. Drummond bought. He gestured to Kaya. These women aren't just contracted labor, they're family. By marriage law and by blood. My late wife, Maria, was Apache, Sun Clan. Her mother was Waterbird, sister to Kaya's grandmother. That makes Kaya my cousin by marriage. That makes her testimony valid. Gaines shot to his feet. Objection. Maria Bridger's death certificate lists her as Mexican, not Apache. Birth registry confirms this. There's no evidence. Volume 9, year 1853. Sam pulled out the paper he'd copied from the registry 3 nights ago, when he'd returned with Harrison's permission and a witness. Dual entry for Maria Luz Santos, also recorded as Morning Rain, daughter of Waterbird and Diego Santos. Apache heritage, documented. Territorial law allows dual recording for mixed heritage. It's all there. He handed the paper to Harrison, who studied it with his clerk's neutral expression, then passed it to the judge. Hardesty read slowly. The courtroom went silent, except for breathing and the creak of chairs. Finally, the judge looked up. This is a certified copy? Yes, sir. Harrison witnessed it himself. The clerk nodded. It's legitimate, Your Honor. The original entry is in the registry. I verified it personally. Gaines's face went red. Even if this woman was related to the deceased, that doesn't prove cultivation. Where's the physical evidence of improvement? Right here. Sam placed a jar on the table. It was filled with muddy water, dirt still swirling. Water from the well we dug. 15 feet down, exactly where Kaya said it would be. We've built a trough, irrigation channels, planted winter wheat. Father Miguel witnessed the digging. So did Esther Caldwell and 7 others. They're all here to testify. Drummond leaned forward, whispered to Gaines. The lawyer nodded. Your Honor, even if we accept this water evidence, the well itself is illegal. My client holds exclusive drilling permits. We didn't drill, Sam interrupted. We dug, by hand. There's no law against a man digging on his own property. There is when it accesses regulated aquifer resources. Show me the regulation. Sam felt the anger rising now, hot and clean. Show me where it says a man can't dig for water on his own land. Show me where Drummond's permit gives him rights to water that was there before he bought any paper from the territory. Gaines opened his mouth, closed it, shuffled through his folders. Drummond's face had gone stone still. Judge Hardesty leaned back. Mr. Gaines, do you have such a regulation? Your Honor, the spirit of the water rights law. I asked for a regulation, not a spirit. Hardesty's voice went cold. You got one, or don't you? The permits clearly state exclusive drilling. Drilling, not digging. The judge looked at Sam. You got witnesses who'll testify to this water find? Under oath? Yes, sir, 9 of them. And these women, they helped dig it? Every foot. They found the spot. They worked the shovels. They're the reason there's water at all. Hardesty looked at Kaya. You, stand up. Kaya rose slowly. The courtroom stared. She met the judge's eyes without flinching. You're Apache? Yes. And you're related to Mr. Bridger's dead wife? She was my mother's niece. Sun Clan? I am Sun Clan. Kaya held up her wrist, showing the tattoo. This mark proves it. The registry proves it. And the water we found proves we know this land better than any paper permit. You signed a labor contract, 20 years indentured service. I signed because I had no choice. But I testify now freely. No one forces me, so I speak truth. We found water together. We made the land need to live. That is improvement. That is family. That is law older than any you write in books. The judge's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Respect, maybe, or recognition. Sit down. Kaya sat. Hardesty turned to Drummond. Mr. Drummond, you got any response to this? Drummond stood slowly. His composure had cracked, just slightly. Your Honor, surely you see what's happening here. This man is using these women to circumvent proper legal process. The whole arrangement is what? Legal family witness testimony? Hardesty tapped the registry copy. According to this, it's exactly that. You got evidence saying otherwise? I have evidence of moral impropriety. I'm not a preacher, Mr. Drummond. I'm a judge. Moral impropriety doesn't void deeds. Hardesty looked at his notes. Mr. Bridgers proved cultivation through witness testimony. He's proved family relationship through registered documentation. He's produced physical evidence of water improvement. And you, sir, don't have a regulation that says he can't dig on his own land. He gavelled once. Deed stands. Water rights are shared under territorial commons law. Any landowner can access groundwater through manual excavation. Your drilling permits don't extend to hand-dug wells. The courtroom erupted. Gaines shouted objections. Drummond's face went purple. But Hardesty gavelled again. Hard. Order. This tribunal is concluded. Bridger retains his deed. Drummond's petition is denied. Mr. Gaines, you want to appeal, take it to the territorial court in Phoenix, but I'm telling you now, they'll laugh you out of chambers. He stood. We're done here. The judge walked out. The crowd surged forward, some congratulating, some cursing. Sam stood frozen, barely believing it. Kaya grabbed his arm. We won? We won. Ayanna laughed, a bright, breaking sound. Sina covered her face, crying. Father Miguel pushed through the crowd, gripping Sam's hand. God's justice, the priest said. Sometimes it actually arrives. But Esther's face was worried. She pulled Sam aside while the crowd celebrated. Drummond won't accept this, she whispered. He can't. You've cost him too much. Money, pride, power. Watch yourself, Sam. This isn't over. Sam looked across the room. Drummond stood by the door, his eyes locked on Sam. The water baron's expression was calm now, composed. But his hands were clenched white-knuckled at his sides. Their eyes met. Drummond smiled, thin, cold, promising things worse than law. Then he turned and walked out into the bright Arizona morning. Drummond left Dry Springs 3 days later, sold his water permits to a syndicate from California, packed his belongings into a private rail car, and vanished east without a word. Some said he'd gone to Denver, others claimed St. Louis. Nobody knew for certain, and after a week, nobody much cared. His hired men scattered like tumbleweeds. The ranch hands found work elsewhere. The lawyer, Gaines, closed his temporary office and returned to Tucson. Within a month, it was as if Wallace Drummond had never existed. Just another ambitious man swallowed by the territory's indifference, but his absence left a space that slowly filled with something better. Sam's winter wheat came in strong, nourished by the irrigation channels they'd expanded. Other ranchers came asking about water, not demanding, asking. Kaya taught them the old methods, how to listen to the land instead of forcing it. Some learned, some didn't, but the ones who did found water where Drummond's expensive drillers had found only dust. Father Miguel stopped hiding Maria's heritage. He painted a sun circle symbol on the church door. A memorial, he said, to a woman who'd lived between two worlds and honored both. A few families left his parish. More stayed. The ones who stayed seemed to pray differently after that, like they'd remembered something they'd forgotten. Esther's store thrived. With Drummond gone, his economic stranglehold broke. Farmers paid their debts. Trade routes reopened. She hired Ayanna to help with accounts. Turned out the quiet one had a gift for numbers. Within 6 months, Ayanna was running half the business, her quick mind turning profit where there'd been barely survival. Cinna learned to read. Sam taught her in the evenings using the territorial law book and Father Miguel's Bible. She was slow at first, stumbling over words, but she was relentless. By spring, she could read the deed documents herself, could point to the clauses that had saved them and explain what they meant. And Kaya walked the valley like she owned it, which in a way she did. The divining rod became legendary. Families came from 3 counties away, asking for her help. She always asked the same price: respect. Respect for the water, for the land, for the knowledge her grandmother had carried through fire and loss. Some paid it. Those were the ones whose wells didn't run dry. On the first anniversary of the tribunal, Sam stood on his porch at dawn, watching the windmill turn. The blades sang their rusty song, pumping water that fed fields now green with corn and wheat. His cattle were fat, healthy. The ranch that had been dying was alive again. Kaya emerged from the barn, carrying a bucket of fresh milk. She'd moved into the cabin 6 months ago, not into Sam's room, but into Maria's old sewing space, which she'd converted into something that was hers alone. A place with Apache patterns on the walls and the smell of sage always burning. "Coffee?" she asked. "Already made." She poured 2 cups, handed him one. They stood together in the cool morning air, drinking in silence. It was a comfortable silence now, worn smooth by shared labor and shared triumph. "Esther says another family asked about Apache labor," Kaya said. "Mexican farmers, lost their irrigation to drought. Want to know if we'd help dig." "What did you tell her?" "That we're not labor. We're consultants." She smiled slightly. "And consultants charge fair wages." Sam chuckled. "Maria would have liked that." "Maria would have done it years ago if you'd let her." "I know." They drank their coffee. In the distance, Ayanna rode the fence line on her morning inspection, her rope coiled at her saddle. Cinna was in the garden, pulling weeds, humming something that might have been a hymn, or might have been Apache, or might have been both. "You ever think about leaving?" Sam asked. "Contract's fulfilled. You're free to go anywhere." Kaya looked at him. "Where would I go?" "Wherever you want. You've got money saved now, reputation. You could start fresh, build something that's just yours." "This is mine." She gestured at the ranch, the fields, the water flowing through channels they'd carved together. "I helped make this. Why would I leave what I made?" Sam nodded. He understood. This was what family meant. Not blood, not paper, but the shared act of keeping something alive. A rider appeared on the eastern road. Father Miguel, his cassock flapping in the morning breeze. He waved as he approached. "Trouble?" Sam called. "The opposite." Miguel dismounted, grinning. "The territorial governor's office sent a letter. They're updating water rights law. Manual excavation now officially recognized as legitimate improvement. They're calling it the Bridger provision." He handed Sam the letter. "You've changed the law, my friend, for everyone." Sam read the official language, the legal phrases that meant families like his, mixed, complicated, hard-won, now had protection they'd never had before. Kaya read over his shoulder. When she finished, she touched the sun circle tattoo on her wrist. "My mother saved one man," she said softly, "and that one man changed a law. She would have liked that." "She would have liked you," Sam said. The sun cleared the mesa, spilling gold across the valley. The windmill turned, water flowed, and on the porch of a ranch that had almost died, 4 people stood together, proof that mercy given freely returns in ways no one can predict. The desert doesn't forget, and sometimes, if you listen, it teaches what laws never could, that the only thing worth owning is what you're willing to share. 6 months later, Sam Bridger sat on his porch at sunset, a tin cup of coffee cooling in his weathered hands. The valley stretched before him, painted in shades of copper and gold. His fields swayed with late summer wheat, the cattle grazed fat and content. The windmill turned its steady rhythm, a heartbeat the land had learned to trust. Kaya was teaching 3 Apache families how to read water signs, her voice carrying across the evening air. Ayanna had opened her own small office in town. Land consulting, the sign said, though everyone knew it meant survival consulting for those the banks had forgotten. Sina was at the church, helping Father Miguel teach children to read, her scar now just another part of her smile. Sam thought about the man he'd been 3 years ago, alone, guilty, waiting for the land to kill him or the law to take what little remained. He'd thought buying those women was redemption, a way to balance the scales for villages burned and lives taken. He'd been wrong about that. Redemption wasn't a transaction, it was a choice made every morning to share water instead of hoarding it, to honor truth instead of burying it, to build family from the broken pieces that remained. Maria had known that. So had the Apache woman who'd saved his life in the desert, knowing he'd ridden with the men who destroyed her world. They'd understood what he was only learning now, that mercy isn't weakness and justice isn't revenge. They're the quiet work of mending day after day until the broken thing becomes stronger than it was before. Kia joined him on the porch, 2 chairs now where there'd been one. "Good day?" he asked. "Good day," she confirmed. They watched the sun sink below the mesa, the sky burning with the desert's ancient fire, and in that shared silence, Sam Bridger finally understood what his wife had been trying to teach him all along. The only thing that survives the desert is what learns to give life instead of taking it.